Yo, what is going on today, fam? We're back again today, and today we are back working on our K20, but today we will be installing our flywheel and clutch setup. So if y'all haven't saw my 3-part engine refresh series, make sure y'all go check that out. We got cams in this thing now. We got a ported oil pump and a bunch of cool goodies in our K20. So what we're doing today is going to be installing our clutch and flywheel, but I always recommend anybody that's doing a clutch and flywheel, you already have taken down your transmission, right? At this point, it's cheap insurance, just go ahead and do your rear main seal. Cause you know, mine isn't too bad, but there's a little bit of oil and stuff built up around there. So we're gonna go ahead and get that swapped out before we do our clutch and flywheel. But let me show you what I went with. So I decided to go with Competition Clutch because they make really good products. I did not get a discount from there or anything like that. This isn't sponsored, but just from my research, found out that Competition Clutch was a good brand, and I decided to go with their Stage 2 organic style clutch. So one of the things about this clutch is it's a full face clutch, and it's also sprung. So what that means is this clutch is going to be like a firmer OEM style clutch. It's going to have that give that you need. It's not like a puck clutch that's going to have all that chatter and things like that. But this is going to be a nice clutch that can stand up to a bit of abuse as well. I went with their steel lightweight flywheel and not their aluminum one, because if you go too light of a flywheel, that actually can take away from drivability, and that's one thing, excuse me, I don't want to do. But that lightweight flywheel is still going to allow the engine to get up and get down in the revs pretty quickly. So that's what I have for this. It comes with a new pilot bushing as well, so we're gonna have to get the old pilot bushing out, and I bought a couple things that I'm gonna need. I got some lithium grease right here, some brake cleaner to clean off the mating surfaces before we put the clutch in, some bread to help us get our pilot bushing out, and then also we have our bolts here. Keep in mind the bolts that this uses are like the star head bolts, so just make sure you have the proper socket in your toolkit before you even go to attempt this job. One special thing I had to do was I had to find a socket that fits in the old pilot bearing hole. I couldn't find one that was exact fit, so I had to put a bit of electrical tape around it. But before I did that, I stuffed it. I stuffed it with some paper towels, so that way when I go to press this in to try to get the old pilot bearing out, because you know, so you'll see in the trip that all the bread doesn't just come out of here. But first things first, we're gonna go ahead and get our old rear main seal out. So the method I'm going to be attempting to use first is going to be drilling these two self-tapping like wood screws inside of our rear main seal, 180 degrees from each other, and then I'll take some pliers and try to pull those bad boys out. So let's get it. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead, because I got the old rear main seal out, I'm gonna put just a little bit of grease along the lip here just to help it to slide on a bit easier. Keep in mind, you don't want to get any grease on this outside perimeter, because that's where your seal comes from. You don't want any grease to touch there. So just on the lip, this is gonna help it slide on. The new one already has grease built into it. That's a good thing there. So from there, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set this, I'm gonna set the new rear main seal on there and take my hammer, and then I'm gonna tap around here real slowly. All right, so my new rear main seal is on. Looks all good, no leak, got everything cleaned up over there. So that's good news. Next things next, we have to get the old pilot bushing out of there. So the new clutch master kit comes with a new pilot bushing here. So what we have to do now though is we have to get the old one out. And the way we're gonna do that is by using some old bread. So what I'm gonna do is wet this bread, and then I'm gonna start stuffing it in this hole until it gets to the point where it's about to come out. From there, I'm going to take this little socket I made that fits in there perfectly, pretty snugly. And I might need to add one more layer. It should be fine though. And then I'm gonna put that in there, and then I'm gonna hammer it like that, and that should force the old pallet bushing out. So I'm gonna go ahead, get y'all on the time lapse, we're gonna knock it out. All right, so you know all that bread jazz I was talking? Well, that did not work for mine. Maybe I just didn't do the technique right, but it just won't work then. So went to my local O'Reilly's, got this pilot bearing puller, part number right here. Then you have to get a slider with it as well, part number 67031. So you can borrow this from O'Reilly's for free, and then I'll just take it back and they'll refund you your money. So too easy there. I'm gonna go ahead and get that old pilot bearing out. Well, I can definitely confirm this tool made light work of it, and it's actually a good tool to have in your repertoire. Unfortunately, I don't do this enough to warrant me actually buying this thing, but it's a good tool to have nonetheless. So our new pilot bearing, all we're gonna do here is line it up like that. And then what I'm gonna do is take this piece of wood and go ahead and hammer it in from there. So I got my new pilot bearing seated in there. Went in, no problems. Everything seems to be good. So next thing we're gonna go to do, well, excuse me, I skipped a part. I took a 17 mil socket that lined up with the size to help press it in evenly. But going from there, next thing is gonna be to install our flywheel, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow and call it a day. So catch y'all tomorrow. Time to go ahead and get the flywheel installed. First things first, we need to go ahead and clean off the flywheel surface with some brake cleaner, because when these things are in storage, they put like this, pretty much like this like oil on it, this film, just to keep it from rusting or anything like that. So we just gotta make sure the surface is clean so that way our clutch can actually grab onto it. We don't have any slipping once we get this bad boy all together. Another reason to change the rear mainsail, because if that oil somehow gets on this side of the flywheel, then your clutch is gonna start slipping automatically. I'm actually gonna come back through with some brake cleaner. On this stuff, just to make sure these surfaces are clean. Ain't nothing on there. So my flywheel can sit perfectly flat, since we put all this bread and bullshit up in there. Now, with my flywheel bolts, so what I'm going to be doing is first, I'm going to put some Loctite up on all of them. Then I'm going to start, and then I'm just going to go to snug them all up, just to make sure the flywheel is seated. And then our final torque spec for these is 90 foot-pounds. I got my breaker bar on the front of the crank, just to prevent the engine from rotating. But I'm gonna do the torque sequence, so 30 foot-pounds first, then 60, and then a final torque sequence of 90. But you do want to go to Loctite these because you don't want these bad boys backing up on you. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out. All right, so I got my flywheel all torqued. So now it's time to go ahead and install the actual clutch disc itself. So all you want to do is take the supplied tool that's supplied in the kit, and what you are going to do is line it up with the pilot bushing and just wiggle that on there and wiggle it in just like that. So now it's keeping your clutch perfectly centered. You want to make sure so your clutch disc is centered before you put on your pressure plate, because if your clutch disc is not centered when you go to put your transmission back in, it's not going to just mesh with the splines in there, and then you won't be able to seat your transmission. So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and get this pressure plate installed. The bolts for this are only 19 foot-pounds. I'm gonna Loctite those two, but just as you are going put your pressure plate in, just make sure that it's little by little, just so you don't accidentally mess anything up. I'll show you what I mean in the video. All right, we got this all torqued down. We got all the bolts torqued down to 20 foot-pounds. So now we just need to pull out this alignment tool. Oh, fun! This piece came out. Fun, but yeah, I'll get it out. All right, y'all, we are all done with the engine for today. Got the clutch, flywheel all set up, and a new rear mirror cell. So that's really, really dope. The next project that we're going to be dealing with now is I'm just waiting to get the transmission back from the shop, so that way I can make the drivetrain together permanently and we can actually start prepping this thing to go inside of the car. So not too many more videos coming before we actually go to drop out the old drivetrain from this thing and we make some progress. So definitely excited about that. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Take it easy. I'm out.
Yeah.